Yes, the OTC is now the original and truly the only tribal chief. I can't wait to talk about that match, its ramifications, and just review the whole card of Raw on Netflix. Welcome to Left Turns, Right Hooks. All right, and welcome into episode number 6 of Left Turns, Right Hooks. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Dan Lindsay. The first episode of Raw on Netflix did not disappoint. Well, maybe just a smidge, but I'll get to that in a minute. The matches, chef's kiss. The promos, I loved every bit of the final, The Rock. And who doesn't love a good Cena promo? I just can't wait to see how each of their storylines continue throughout 2025. So what's in store today? Just me. I want to review the show as a whole from a few different viewpoints, but I do maybe need to consider stop predicting matches because I was 1 for 3. And if Tyler and I had picked the Drew and Jay match, I would have been 1 for 4. Not good. I'll probably still keep doing this, but I should probably stop. Anyway, we'll get to the matches, some thoughts on the production value of the show. But let's start with the promos of the night. The cold open posted WWE socials before the show. Very, very well done. And Triple H did what we all knew he was going to ask if we were ready. And we definitely were. The show overall had a PLE feel, but didn't at the same time. And I'm 100% okay with that. I know people are talking about that. It's a big sticking point, but it's a big event feel here on Raw. It doesn't take away how the show will mostly be episodic, but you can get away with what they did on the debut of Netflix. You can get away with that every once in a while, especially as PLEs you can't just throw them out randomly. Schedulers don't line up how you want to. So some episodes just have to feel bigger than others. And you got to get some finality to some shows. Not every show can be advanced. Sometimes you truly just need to end the story. But yeah, it was hyped. I thought it was well worth the hype. And I thought it was a nice mix for the matches in the respect that 2 matches gave us a pretty definitive ending to the respective feuds for now. The main event gave us more than I expected, and I think most expected. And one match we wholeheartedly expect to be just another chapter in a long-standing feud that may not be the match you think it is, as I say that. Okay, on to the promos. And we'll start with the bad. I just don't get why Hulk Hogan was there. I mean, I do, because it was Propona's beer, but the booze drowned him out. They were never ending with him. And I just really wasn't on the Hulk train growing up as it was. And given his unsavory comments, I guess, is the best way to put it, the last handful of years, I'm really not sure why the support was like this in this fashion. And honestly, as another podcast that I listened to put it, you have Stone Cold and his line of beers and IPAs. Why not just promote Stone Cold? To me, that would have been a lot better. It would have gotten a much bigger pop. No booze. This was easily the worst part of the show. And I also didn't care for what it felt like millions of celebrities that had to be showcased between every match, in and out of every commercial break, it seemed. I get it. It's LA. It's what they do in the city with sporting events. So sure, gay, cool, is fun. They probably could have gotten another match in as much as they kept showing celebrities. But honestly, I can live with that over having to go through Hulk Hogan coming out one more time. I hope they don't do that again. On the other side, ironically, was The Rock. After the past number of months, I haven't really been the biggest fan of his character, the character of the final boss. I like him. Who doesn't like The Rock? But the attitude that we've gotten from The Rock the last few months with the final boss persona being involved in the Cody and Roman stuff, it was what he wanted ultimately, of being liked and hated at the same time. I mean, that's just The Rock, and he eats that stuff up. And so he had that final boss attitude every time it came out. It kept growing and growing and growing. Then all of a sudden, Raw debuts on Netflix, and he sheds the final boss attitude. I don't think he's shed the moniker. So The Rock is just confusing to me. I don't get it. I guess he's nice again. I'm really confused by him. Just confuses a lot of me right now with The Rock. I do like how he propped up Cody. He sang Roman's praises, but the whole time it didn't sit right with me personally. Very much of a corporate feel of Rock, and I get it. He's on the board of directors, so he's gonna probably do that. It's the debut of Raw on Netflix. All this, stuff that makes sense of why he would be like that. But when we just saw him in October, counting 1, 2, 3 to Roman and Cody in the ring, I mean, in one way, if you take this episode at face value, is like, well, the three of us are going to be on the same page here soon enough. I don't think that's it, though. He did come out with the High Chief promo. So that might be part of it. We might be in the High Chief phase of Dwayne Johnson, High Chief phase of The Rock. He did show that in the preview of WrestleMania when they had that big poster that show that he is a High Chief, and I guess they're now just pulling that Easter egg, and that's fine. I just wonder, is this another evolution of The Rock? Is he going to still have High Chief and Final Boss, all the titles, and just turn on the different personas when the different personas are needed? If anybody can do it, it's totally him. But it's just very confusing. I don't get why he was so nice. I just don't get it. I can't shake it. I still wonder when we get that Rock and Roman match. I feel we get it soon. I hope we get it soon. I'm more into that match than I was last year at this time. Because I just keep thinking, The Rock is surely playing Roman right now. He has to be, right? Right? Anyway, I divulge from there. I'll touch on him a little bit more later with the actual match that happened. But as far as promos, last one I want to touch on was Cena. He's probably in the running for one of the best moments of the night. Though I did think something was very interesting in how he said, "I'll see you in Indianapolis next." Indianapolis is where the Royal Rumble is. He officially declared for the Royal Rumble, and I get it. That's why he said, "Seen in Indy." But what I don't get is why he's saying Indianapolis next. I guess we don't get to see him for 3 more weeks. He said full schedule. He said 35 to 40 dates. That's majority of the year. I figured he'd take time off after WrestleMania. So, and again, it's only 3 weeks from now, but I was hoping we'd get at least like one little match with him. And I was hoping he'd actually go after the Intercontinental title first. And that's fine. Going after number 17 makes a lot more sense right now. There are only so many lottery tickets, as he said. And I'm glad to see him get to the Rumble one last time. He deserved to be in the Royal Rumble. Just WWE, Triple H, don't put him out there as one of the first 2 guys or top 5 or even a top 10 entrant. Let him come out at like 18, 20, 25 even, right? We don't want him as the last guy out there either. That would kind of take away from that too. But put him in there in like 18, 20, where there's probably 10, 12 guys in the ring. Let him eliminate a couple people, show what he's got. But I was hoping we'd get at least one match with him to kind of at least shed some ring rust or something. I don't know. But one match before the Rumble would have been great with him. But apparently we won't see him until February 1st and Indy. That's okay. And as an aside on John Cena, my friend Tyler and I, we've done some ultimate fantasy booking of John Cena's final year. He's joined me for a couple episodes recently as we've booked parts of his retirement year. Parts 1 and 2 of that series are posted on my page, while part 3, the final part, should be out hopefully before the Rumble. And a brief tease on my end for part 3, Logan Paul haters should love where I'm going to go with him. Though I definitely regret not placing Logan Paul in my booking earlier, especially now that Cena kind of touched on him during his promo. And the last thing on Cena's promo, again, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really, it was hard not to pick everything he said apart. But one thing he did say was, "My time is up. Their time is now." I don't expect every singles match or storyline he has to always put someone younger over, but I hope that while he pursues different titles and accolades, he's still able to promote and push the next generation of wrestlers in his retirement tour. And that's what he seemed to kind of hint on during his speech on Monday night. So I hope that works out the way we all want it to. But he can't put everybody over, and it shouldn't be his only job in his retirement tour. But I do hope that we get to see him put at least a few big names over. Trick Williams definitely at the top of that list for me. And before we get to the matches, I want to touch on the production of the show. That's kind of my background. The production of the show I thought was nice. Entrance was simple, short. We felt that really nicely with the Undertaker coming out on his bike. I thought it was straight to the point. And even the shots seemed tighter than usual around the ring. I liked that a lot. I felt like I was actually ringside a lot more than usual. The addition of the drone shots was a nice touch. The lighting from the spectacular Intuit Dome and all the other technology advances that they had, that was just icing on the cake there. So really well done, just on the production side. And two things that I really wanted to note on the production side. The first one was when The Rock came out at the end of the Tribal Chief match. He came out, you see him in the entrance, kind of right, just pictured in the frame between Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, framed nearly perfect in the distance as he walked in. I thought that was just wonderful framing. I kind of popped at that. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, we're getting The Rock, but oh, that's so cool how the shot is. It was wonderful. Then I also thought of the framing of the words between Undertaker and Rhea was magnificent. Can't say it, don't want this to be censored on YouTube, but we know what the word was there. It's kind of just one big star to the next big star. Just what a huge endorsement from Undertaker there with Rhea Ripley. So kudos to the production of this episode. I have to imagine that was a massive task, getting it all set up in a new arena, being on Netflix with all the extra bells and whistles there. I didn't notice any hangups personally. There probably was, but I thought this episode as a whole from the production side was great. And one last thing before the matches, no major returns happened here. Now we got some guest spots as I talked about, but no actual wrestlers returning on Netflix here for the debut. We might get them in coming weeks. I know Becky, Charlotte Flair, they were two of the bigger rumored returns, but we didn't get to see them, and the show didn't need them. So I do wonder when we get them. I imagine one, maybe both at the Rumble, and if they both come at the Rumble, that's going to put a nice twist on their rivalry even more. But the show didn't need any big returns. Speaking of the matches, let's just go in order. So let's start. We had the battle for the title of Tribal Chief between Roman and Solo. To me, this is a typical Roman match. Slow, prodding to start, which is fine. Each are hitting big spots on each other, picked up momentum here and there. Solo looked strong right away. Roman fought back. I felt Solo got some great moves in and really kept Roman at bay. I think Solo, if he ends up solo for a little bit, yes, pun intended, I think Solo could really take off as a wrestler. I talked about it last time I talked with Tyler, just how he has carried himself better the last few months. His promos are getting better. So I wouldn't be surprised if Solo just kind of does his own thing for a little bit and does well. But back to the match, not surprisingly, the wannabe bloodline showed up. I fully expected Roman to be outnumbered here. Jay already had a match planned. CM Punk had a match planned. I figured Jimmy was probably hurt still, and I wasn't sure if Sammy would want to show up even if he was able to. Sure enough, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, they gave Roman a taste of his own medicine that he doled out for so long during his title reign. But eventually, we did get Sammy and Jimmy. And honestly, getting KO involved to just get Cody involved and on the show was so well done, too. It's just KO was out of nowhere. Cody came in, pushed him right out of the ring, took care of him. And at the end of the day, once the ring was finally cleared, Roman and Solo, they traded a few more shots. But in the end, Roman finally speared Solo and finally kept him down. And he won the Ula Fala that he never really lost. He just disappeared. So Solo's like, I guess this is mine. And it wasn't just his. He never was truly given the Ula Fala. He just assumed he could take it. So this is a nice ending, I think, to that. And will we see these two lock horns again? Wouldn't be surprised. But I think we'll get some distance between Roman and Solo. I think we'll get some distance between the OG bloodline and the wannabe bloodline. Honestly, I could see some interesting things happening on SmackDown to where over the next few weeks, I don't know if will happen on the very next episode of SmackDown, but to where Solo's by himself. Jacob might follow him because he loves Solo. But I'm interested to see what Tama Tonga does. Uh, I could see him saying, "All right, Roman, you won it. You got it. You overcame the odds. Yeah, you're my tribal chief." I don't know if Jacob will. And if Jacob doesn't, that could be easily how we get to a match between Roman Reigns and Jacob. Who knows? The Bloodline story just weaves in and out. I love just every little story beat. They can honestly go so many different directions right now, too. I feel they can do a lot of different things. And we still have The Rock. And again, this is where The Rock confused me even more. Like I said, he sauntered down, doesn't say much. He took the Ulo follow from Paul, which Paul was like so excited to do this, to put it on him. But he's like, no, I'm taking the Ulo follow. Remember, I'm the High Chief, not the Tribal Chief. I'm the High Chief. So The Rock got to put the Ulafala on Roman. And I still say this is kind of a ruse. I say this will be used against Roman somehow. But The Rock was just, because Rock was just too nice. He's just too nice for me. A bad blood. He counted to 3 after the Cody and Roman tag match. And then he turns into this lovable self on Monday. I think it's a ruse. We'll have to see, though. I thought overall it was a great way to just close out the first hour of Raw on Netflix. It didn't even feel like an hour. Might have been a little less, but I thought it was a great way to cap off the hour. And the storyline can just go so many different directions, I feel. And I can't wait to see what happens with all the Bloodline stuff. We got to be in like at least the 5th or 6th, like 6th inning, maybe 7th. But I think we still have a long, long time to go with this storyline, and we have other players too that we haven't even touched on. The next match was Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley for the women's championship. Honestly, I wasn't too excited about this match, mainly because we've seen so many iterations of this match leading up to this point. I felt this match really needed to be the last match we see between these two, at least for a few months. Just end it. Whoever gets the belt, just end it for now. I get it. Rhea is a much stronger wrestler, personality wise, not just strength and size and stuff, but personality wise, probably the wrestler that they're going to hitch their wagon to a little bit more. Obviously, that was shown with the Undertaker after. So it was nice to see Rhea finally overcome all the cheating odds that she has had to deal with for the last 6 months between her and Liv. So, it was great to see her finally overcome the numbers game. She got the title back that she never really lost in the ring. She just had to give it up because of her injury. I felt both competitors did well in the match. Liv's character, her work as a character has become better and better over the last year. And I'm curious where we go with both of these after this match. I don't really have any ideas where they could, but I'm very curious to see what happens. The biker version of The Undertaker rode around the ring, posed with Rhea, didn't say a word. Hulk Hogan should have been taking notes. And so it's a powerful endorsement. And before that, we got to see Rhea get justice on Dominic, and that felt so perfect in that moment, too. Overall, just a fun match, good match. The ending I didn't think was going to happen, but in retrospect, the ending that should happen. I think Rhea should be able to take on any and all comers now. And hopefully we get her against like Bianca or Jade or even Charlotte again come WrestleMania time. Or a brand swap of stars. And, get like Nia Jax on the Raw brand. And Nia Jax Rhea Ripley match would be lots of fun, I feel. And whether it would be Nia or not, I would honestly love to see Liv, Raquel, and Judgment Day as a whole just get moved to SmackDown. Put them over in SmackDown. That way we know the story between these two wrestlers is closed. So I feel this rivalry was one rivalry that truly got closed at the end of the night. And since everything counts, we're talking about brand swapping, this transfer portal. Did see Bayley talking with Adam Pearce. I wonder if that can mean anything going forward in the transfer portal for her and being on Raw. All right, next up we have the Jey Uso Drew McIntyre match. These two have been tangling for a long time, and I went on a weird rabbit trail thanks to Cage Match. I was able to figure out that these two competitors have shared the ring 45 times in a variety of matches, tag matches, number one contenderships, battle royals, you name it, they probably did it. In fact, Drew has teamed up with, I think, at least 4 or 5 different wrestlers and different tag teams to face Jay. There's even matches going back to the time when the Usos were first around, and Drew McIntyre was in 3MB. So your fun fact for this pod, Drew and Cody Rhodes were once tag champs together back in 2010. The Usos were in that same match that night where Drew and Cody won the titles. It was Night of Champions in 2010. I honestly need to go back and watch that match. I looked at all the tag teams that were in that match. Very interesting. And to me, I just can't believe that Drew and Cody were actually tag champs together. And this is Cody way before the Cody we know now, of course. This is Dashing Cody era, I believe. And the Usos, they were pretty fresh in the scene. So the fact that they were all in a match together then and where we are now 14, 15 years later is really cool. I just think that is really cool. And with the way that Triple H does stuff, now the way that creative is under him, like I wouldn't be surprised if some of that stuff gets brought up somehow. So sorry about the random tangent. I do find it fun to dive back into match histories with various wrestlers. I've been in and out of wrestling, following wrestling for most of my life up till 2017-18. That's when I got back into it more consistently. So these history deep dives, they really help me kind of fill in gaps. And creatively, you never know what might get referenced. And to me, it's just really cool to see who might have been in ring together then and if they're still around now. But anyway, the current iterations of Drew and Jay really have history back to about 2022. Going back to 2022, Drew teamed with RK Bro to fight against the OG Bloodline at the time when Solo was with them. Drew then had quite a few tag team matches with either Sheamus or Madcap Moss, teaming up with him against the Usos. This helped lead to the 2022 War Games match. Then they were on the opposite of each other in the next year's War Games in 2023 as Judgment Day brought in Drew to take on Cody Rhodes and friends. Lots of entanglements in various forms, as I said, between Drew and Jay. And sprinkled in there were a decent amount of one-on-one matches. But there's, again, so many times they were in the ring together in a lot of iterations. But there are 6 matches that they've had now that were one-on-one matches. Only 6. And this past Monday was the first time that Jay actually beat Drew. First time. So I think that's cool that Jay kind of got over that hump, but I wonder how short-lived it is, honestly. The match itself, wonderful. Didn't get announced until late for the card, and not as much hype around it as the rest of the card, but it's still a very good match. 2 professionals here. They always put on a solid show. Monday night wasn't any different with these guys. Both took their punishments. Honestly, was surprised to see Jay pick up the win, as I mentioned earlier, but I felt it was super easy to keep this rivalry going since Jay won with a roll-up. It's like, oh, he got the win. Well, he didn't knock me down and keep me down. He just rolled me up and won. Jay sees Drew as a mountain to overcome to get to the top. And Drew is very angry about the bloodline. And I can't imagine this helps with that. So Jay is still on his hit list, I'm sure. I'm sure he'll have to watch his back even more. Drew's not going to rest it until he can inflict damage on everybody in the OG bloodline. So this is just another chapter in their story. And while we had a finality to a couple different stories, or at least, a temporary finality to some stories, this to me was just another chapter in these guys' book in one fashion or another. These two are going to fight together forever, I feel. And I think you can go back to this in so many different ways, whether it's more number 1 contender matches, more fatal 4-ways for the championship, qualifying matches for different tournaments and stuff. They're going to meet each other's way for the foreseeable future. I have no doubt about that. Now, to the main event. This did not disappoint. Perfect ending to the card, I feel. One thing I noticed during the match was the dueling chants from the town a couple times from the crowd where they would cheer for Punk or cheer for Rollins, sing the song of Rollins. And the crowd was there just all night, it seemed, too. Really just must have been really cool to see this all in person. I did like how CM Punk, Seth Rollins stole each other's moves. Seth had a couple GTSs, so Punk was like, here's your move, your stomp, to your head. And I feel we saw Rollins bag of tricks with pretty much all his moves. We got a buckle bomb from him. He had multiple attempts at stomps, did a couple pedigrees, including one on the announcers table, if I remember that correctly. I feel we saw everything from Seth Rollins except his Falcon Arrow. So this match was a literal slugfest. Very physical. I loved how at one point near the end they were both on their knees. They just hitting and slapping each other. It was wonderful. So fun. Made me chuckle. It was what was needed for this match after all the fiery promos between these two guys. The hate from Rollins has to still be there on a personal level. It might always be. But their story and interviews that they've had, especially Seth, really blur the lines well on how tense this all is between these two and what's real life and what's in the storyline. But I feel like they'll never die with these guys, especially Seth. Punk probably wants to move on after this, and I'm sure that Seth is going to find a way to weasel his way back into a match with him. And I'm glad Punk won. I think he is a little more at stake currently, a little older. And Rollins just does excellent with whomever he is in with the ring. So I'm glad that Punk won. I feel it helps him well. He's a wonder to watch, both Seth and Punk. They're both wonders to watch. I've definitely grown to appreciate what Rollins has done in the ring after really not being a fan of his initially. And Punk, his work is just great right now. He's after gold. He has said it. He's not being shy about it. I can't wait for 2025. We get CM Punk after gold, just killing it on the mic, bringing us back to 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago when he was just at his peak. We get Cena Retirement's tour for 2025. We got The Rock throwing curveballs when least expected. Again, just too nice for me here. Roman Reigns, Solo, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, all characters that should have some strong arcs throughout the year. I haven't even touched about Cody Rhodes or KO and so many other stars. Sammy, Drew. It's truly a wonderful time to be a fan of WWE and wrestling in general. So what did you think of Raw's debut on Netflix now that it has been a few days to think on it? I can't wait for the next episode already. Like I said, so many great things are coming our way as fans this year. And I can't wait just to sit back and watch it all happen. Watch these guys cook. So please leave a comment on this video. A like would go a long way. Subscribing to the channel would be a huge help too. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan Lindsay. We'll see you next time with part 3 of booking John Cena's final year. And I'm working on some NASCAR content too as we're getting towards the start of that season. So thanks for watching. And we'll see you next time.